To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification.
Helping you along the way. Helping you to make it through another day. Yeah. Everything you need to know that you never knew, that you need to know. Like our perspective.
Well, Shabbat Shalom to everybody. I'm so glad that you guys are all here with us today. It is another wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Sabbath day, and I am really feeling like time is flying. We do have our guest in the house. He's here, and I'm very happy to have both he and his wife, Ronnie Mann. How are you today, kind sir?
I'm well, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here live at the Lockhart Perspective. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom to you as well. I see that Charlie says he got the book. Well, did it look hilarious like I told you? Was it nice and bundled up? And was that enough postage? When I found out that it was I was like, oh my gosh, let's do it again and send it back. So it looked sort of hilarious at first, but nonetheless, I'm glad you got it and I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Hello, hello, Lisa. Shabbat Shalom to you. Sister Sonia, hey, it's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. Time is zooming on by, almost halfway through February. I know it. I know it. I know it. And it is amazing. It is amazing. But the next thing you know, it's going to be Passover. And that is going to be an awesome time. William Craig, welcome to you, sir. It's great to see you. I'm glad that you're here. We're going to get right down to the good part. What's going on, Ronnie? What? I mean, this is a very relaxed, time. Whenever we come for Sabbath Day Assembly, it's always very relaxed. But we've always got some good stuff to share. So you want to give me a little bit of a, just clue me and give me a sneak peek.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, it's always good to come together collectively, with people that are like-minded, so we can get our knowledge, wisdom, and understanding game sharpened up. So that's always important. And you're right. This is a laid-back kind of conversation. At the same time, we do want to spur each other on towards righteousness as we approach these last days. It is extremely important to keep your eyes on the prize, especially at this time frame, at this juncture. So we're just going to be talking about resting on the Sabbath, and there's different angles, but what does that entail? And I'm coming from one aspect. So we'll be talking about that.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad to know it because I still have on my fuzzy slippers. Physically resting, as far as physically resting, but then I think, just the important stuff is just getting it's like a play by play, learning and understanding exactly what it is that we're doing and how to lay it out and how to understand it and how to just really chill in it. You know what I'm saying? It's just really, it's not all that. It's important, it's clutch, but relax.
Yeah, definitely.
Relax. Ingrid
Definitely.
Norman's here, and so is Mark Schumann, as well as Maureen Olson. Hello to all three of you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You were in the middle of a sentence. What were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say, as far as putting on the fuzzy slippers and taking off the work boots, that is uh, extremely vital especially on today. But as far as everybody who is in the chat, who is listening now, and for the people who are coming in, definitely don't even grab a seat, grab a lounge chair, and we're gonna sit back
Mmm,
and we're just gonna
a
chill.
nice
And
chaise lounge.
absolutely, absolutely, and we're gonna discuss some things to get the old thinker working.
Very good. Very good indeed. All right. So, where would you like me to go? I'm here at your disposal. I will be your engineer, as it were, as you are mine in so many different situations. I will go where you need me to go. What would you like me to pull up first? Or is it just a standard conversation that you'd like to have?
No, let's go ahead and yeah, standard conversation, but we're going to look at some verses as well.
Cool.
The thing is, as far as resting on the Sabbath, right? So we're going to talk about resting, and it's pertinent today as far as resting. So let's go ahead and speak on it. What do you do? But from this aspect and this angle, um, I want us to really think about this component as far as resting. First of all, what do we mean by when we say resting? Um, we get that concept in the English from the word, shalom or what have you, shalom, which means peace, but it really means whole, to be whole. And when you're whole, there's no need to work. You're already ready already. Like all the components are there, and you're not having to work to go gather things and to go seek things out and find things and put things together, um seaming things together or hemming things together. You're already whole. um when you look at the word in the Hebrew, the actual connotation that you get out of it, shalom, when you're speaking to people, but the noun form of it, the it of it is shalom, shalom, or in the modern Hebrew they say shalom. But nonetheless, this word actually means to cease and desist. Just stop, cease
Wow.
and desist, complete halt. That's what it actually means, connotation wise. The aspects of it or whatever is, because it's completion and you are already whole. But the reason why we're ceasing and desisting is because the work is complete. So when in the Genesis narrative, when he rested on the seventh day, it's because like he didn't procrastinate. Everything's done. He didn't uh, rest until everything was complete and it was good, or what have you. So when that becomes good, when it's good, that means it's finished and the work is finished, and now we can cease and desist. Like think about that, what that implies and what that entails. Cease and desist, stop immediately. And that's what the seventh day rest is. We're ceasing from the work of Babylon, and we're not assisting and propping it up today. We're stopping. And in actuality, we're ceasing all work, even aspects. I'm going to qualify what I'm saying, and the subject matter of what I'm saying will qualify that. That's what we're going to speak on today. So don't hold me to what I'm saying just yet. I'm going to clean it up as we go. But even kingdom work is ceased. And like I said, like what kingdom work is, how can you stop kingdom work? Kingdom work is something that's ongoing, and that's true. But this is what he commands, that we cease and desist work. We put our feet up, we put our fuzzy slippers on today, and we chill out. And so there's a lot of mockers or naysayers that say, oh, because scripture actually tells you that you're going to be cut off, and you have to be killed. You have to, you're killed for working on the Sabbath, actually. And that's a huge thing to digest. Like, what? That something so minor, but in actuality, it's minor in our minds. It is of vital importance, and the all of the context, as far as biblical context is concerned, is seamless. So it goes together. It's painting. It is always painting a metaphor and an analogy, a storyline to illustrate kingdom principles and where you're supposed to align yourself in the midst of those. So I should be sharing Numbers 15:30. Um, let me pull up.
Yes, you are.
Okay, let me pull up the
While you do
entirety.
that, I want to say hey to Iowa Free Thinker. Welcome and hello. And my Fedora sister. I know I said hey to you earlier, but I just want people to know that Lisa R. Hall, that's my Fedora sister.
Okay, okay. Um, so well, I pulled up Numbers 15 as a whole, and let's just begin reading, and let's have let's just think about some things, and let's even have a conversation if there's any questions or what have you. Let's banter. But I'm gonna start at 27. Okay, first and foremost, let me say this. Do not take my word for this. Go in. I'm giving you an overview of what the scriptures say, and a starting point to begin, as far as what you want to look, where you want to look, and how and what you need to be looking for. I'm giving you a general overview, but go back into the text for yourself and look to see if I'm reaching to the and you'll be astonished at some of these things that is present in the text. um but look to see if I'm speaking amiss, and know for yourself. So this is just a general overview to get us a certain mindset as far as where the scriptures want to hone us in as far as that mindset is concerned. But in 27 it says, also, if one person sins unintentionally, he is to present a year-old female goat as a sin offering, and the priest shall make atonement before Yah on behalf of the person who erred by sinning unintentionally. And when atonement has been made for him, he will be forgiven. You shall have the same law. You shall have the same law for the one who acts in error, whether he is a native born Israelite or a foreigner residing among you. So once again, here's this rhetoric about the same law, whether you are a native born or you are a quote unquote Gentile. All of these rules apply under one household, and this is Yah's household. There's not a separation, because the Gentile nations cleave to the house of Jacob, who is Israel, Yasharal. And when you cleave to the house of Yasharal, Yasharal has a certain law. And in that law, verse 29, it says, you shall have the same law for the one who acts in error as the one who sins unintentionally, whether he is native born or a foreigner residing among you. But the person who sins defiantly, whether a native or a foreigner, blasphemes Yah. So once you have this information, it is actually a testament against you. It is a witness against you if you don't act on this information. So listener beware, if you will, because this is important and this is vital. This is actually life or death. Why? Because in the scheme of things, all of these things are preparing us for the end times. So we think that these laws are done away with, or they're unimportant, and we're under we're in a different time frame. I don't even want to say the word dispensation, but we're in a different time frame. So these laws are irrelevant, but we have to understand the tie-in. These laws are set and put in place so we can be prepared for the end game. And we don't look at it like that, but in this segment we'll begin to understand, and we'll begin to see how all of these are relevant and why we are to implement them for the last day. um, so it says, the person who sins defiantly, whether native or foreigner, blasphemes Yah, that person shall be cut off from among his people. He shall certainly be cut off because he has despised the word of Yah and broken his commandment. His guilt remains on him. Okay, so it says that, right? So I wanted to highlight that aspect and that point because whether you are native born or you have come into this, being a quote unquote Gentile nation, and you come into this, I know that was repetitive, Gentile and nation, but being of another nation and not a native born of Yasharal, when you come into this, you have to abide by the house rules. And if you don't, if you are defiant, then you are a blasphemer. Not my words. This is straight out of scripture. So verse 30, so it's telling you to have one law for whoever resides among you. Okay, verse 32 begins to talk about Sabbath keeping. Interestingly enough, because this is a very important concept. It says, while the Israelites were in the wilderness, a man was found gathering wood on the Sabbath day. Those who found the man gathering wood brought him to Moshe, Aaron, and the whole congregation. And because it had not been declared what should be done to him, they placed him in custody. And Yah said to Moshe, check this out. The man must surely be put to death. The whole congregation is to stone him outside of the camp. So it goes on to say, so the whole congregation took the man outside the camp and stoned him to death as Yah had commanded, as Yah had commanded Moshe. Later, Yah said to Moshe, speak to Yasharal and tell them that throughout the generations to come, they are to make for themselves tassels on the corners of their garments with a blue cord on each tassel. These will serve as tassels for you to look at so that you may remember all the commandments of Yah, that you may obey them and not prostitute yourselves by following your own heart and your own eyes. Then you will remember and obey all my commandments, and you will be set apart to your Allahayam. I am Yah, your Allahayam, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your Allahayam. I am Yahweh, your Allahayam. Okay, so he's telling you not only to keep Shabbat or what have you, but he's also telling you to put some tassels on the corners of your garments to remind you to keep Shabbat and to so you may remember all of the commandments of Yah. So when you look down and you see these tassels, you're like, oh, let me tighten up. Every time you look down at your tassels, you realize, okay, I need to tighten up every chance I get. And that's the concept of that. So these are vital components of keeping Yah's words on the forefronts of our mind. Okay, so all of that to say that back at verse 32, while they were in the wilderness, a man was found gathering wood on Sabbath. And he died for this. This is outrageous. This is over the top if you don't realize what's going on. So I want to hone in on this aspect. What was he doing? He was gathering wood. He was working. But what kind of work? He was gathering wood. So this is what I want to talk about for the remainder of our assembly today. I'm going to stop this and I'm going to share another screen.
Okay, I think that's very, very telling. It's very telling. Those are points to definitely live by. I mean, to literally live by. Live by, live by. That's very interesting.
Okay, so I want to bring this concept to the table, and I'm sharing if you let me know that I am, because I'm not on that side.
Oh no, you're sharing. It's up there
Okay,
right now. An
okay,
exhortation to obedience.
exactly. So let's get one thing clear. I'm going to read Deuteronomy 4, and I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, hear now, Yasharal, the statutes and ordinance I am teaching you to follow, so that you may live and may enter and take possession of the land that Yah, the Elohim of your fathers, is giving you. You must not add to or subtract from what I command you, so that you may keep the commandments of Yah your Elohim that I am giving you. Okay, so first and foremost, he's teaching you to follow these things. Why? So you may live. Why? Because this. Okay, you remember back in at Feast of Tabernacles where it said to to make a makeshift tent, if you will, to make a
Yes.
makeshift tabernacle and make
Yes.
it out of trees, the
Mm-hmm.
goodly
The
boughs of the
Sukkot. Yeah.
trees.
Mm-hmm.
And it's doing that on purpose because we found out in Revelation that he orders the angels that are coming to basically smite the earth with fire, he orders them to not touch the trees or any green
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're underneath them, then we're safe. Then we're safe
We're
from
covered.
harm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And we're literally covered. That is the covering.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the covering is, so the sukkah is a metaphor for the covering. And but it's a metaphor, but we're actually supposed to do it because in the end times, he has commanded the devourer to not touch the green, any green thing that is living. So if you're underneath that, you won't be touched. So it's, yeah, metaphorical, but it's practical, it's pragmatic, and it is actually realistic. These are things that we're actually doing. So that is an old law from back in the day. It's quote unquote irrelevant and from the Old Testament law, but it pertains to the future. And that's why you have to do it. That is how you're going to be saved. And at the beginning, in the middle part of verse 1 of Deuteronomy 4, it says, I am teaching you to follow so that you may live. That is a good example of how you're going to live through these end times, by the practicality of abiding by these laws, statutes, and commandments. So it tells you, it says, you must not add or take away. And then in verse 3, it says, your eyes has seen what Yah did at Baal Peor. That's the Lord of the hill. So that's another God on another mountain that you keep on wanting to serve.
Mm-hmm.
For Yah your Elohim destroyed from among you all who followed the Lord of the mountain, Baal Peor. But you who held fast to Yah your Elohim are alive to this day, every one of you. So check out verse 5. This is what I want to get at. See, I have taught you statutes and ordinance just as Yah your Elohim, or my Elohim, has commanded me, so that you may follow them in the land that you are about to enter and possess. Observe them carefully, for this will show your wisdom and understanding in the sight of the peoples. I'll stop right there. Um, but highlight verse 5. Highlight verse 5 in your mind. Like, keep this at the forefront of your mind. Um, and verse 6. But what does it say? It says, so we're in the wilderness, right?
Mm-hmm.
At this juncture, as far as Deuteronomy
Yes.
4, we're proverbially in the wilderness right now.
Right now, physically.
Right.
Hey, Rachel.
Exactly.
Hey, Maureen. Yep.
So
Poppy
so
Love. Yep.
so
Hold
all
on.
of this. Okay. Okay.
Daryl Calhoun.
I'm
All
sorry. I'm
right.
sorry.
I'm
No,
good.
go ahead.
Go.
Go ahead. Shout out. Shout out.
I have to, because it takes, I mean, it's just a handful of us in here. But I want everybody to know, you know what? This takes a lot for us to actually come together like this, because if you consider where we were and to understand where we are, when y'all come in, I need to let you guys know, hey, how you doing? Because you are really opening up to some things like we all are, and you don't have to. You could have stayed where you were in Lodabar, and you're not in that place no more. So I always stop to say, hey, okay, now let's go. Oh, and yeah, I was about to ask to make that just a little bit bigger so that we could see it a little bit better. Perfect. Oh, yes, yes.
All
I
right.
see it. I see it.
All right. So look, it says, I have um all of this quote unquote Old Testament that they like to call old, but this is the blueprint on how to survive. I'll use sensationalism. How to survive the apocalypse. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. And people say, okay, yeah, but we're in captivity, so maybe we can't observe these things. And we're in the wilderness right now, so we can't observe these things. This is what I want us to focus on. Deuteronomy 4:5 answers that question or that thought pattern. See, I have taught you statutes and ordinance just as Yah, my Allah Hayam, has commanded me, so that you may follow them in the land that you are about to enter and possess. Observe them carefully, for this will show your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the peoples. So what does it say? It says that he's teaching us these things. What? These statutes and these ordinances. He's teaching us them now so that we may follow them in the land that we are about to enter and possess. So what I'm saying is that, or not what I'm saying, what this is saying is that we're being taught these things now so we can implement them now so that we will follow them in the land. This is the training ground right now. We're to follow them in the land. We're not supposed to learn them as we go in the land. We're not supposed to be novices in the land. We're supposed to be learning them now so we can observe them carefully and follow them in the land. So now is the training ground. And I want to impress that point upon all of us is because I hear many of us say, well, we can't do these things now because we're still scattered and we're still in captivity and we're still in the wilderness per se. But that's not what the scripture's telling us to do. Once again, and I'm being I'm repeating on purpose, we are supposed to do these things. We're supposed to learn these things and be taught these things. What things? These statutes and ordinances now, so that we may follow them in the land that we are about to enter in and possess. I want to make that vitally clear.
I think it's also a lot of times when people, because I know where my mind went several years ago when I first thought about, enacting this as a part of my life. When it was presented to me, the first thing I thought about was the actual physical lamb and the actual physical sacrifice and the actual physical animals that that you look at the Old Testament, and that's the first thing that hit my mind was, well, gee whiz, we can't do that because look, in that day they were doing this and that, and we don't have no goats, and who's gonna do all this or that and all this. Those things were the first things that hit my mind. And then as time went on and I began to really lower that guard and just empty out, I began to understand your point exactly, is that this is, you simply walk it out. That's all you're doing. You are walking it out because eventually you're going to do this forever and ever. So you're walking it out now, not necessarily going up getting because what did we do? My grandchildren and I, as I always say, for last year, Passover, we got lamb. We got a rack, we got some lamb chops, and that's what we put on the, on the grill, and then vegetables and the bitter herbs. But it's because we were doing it. We were actually walking it out, walking it to the best of our ability, and he receives that. It's the heart and the way that it's what's in your heart. It's how you're behaving in your heart that comes out in the natural. And
Absolutely.
that's what makes the difference. So you guys don't be, don't fret if you say, well, gee whiz, those things were all for back then, or if you share it with somebody and they tell you, well, they used to kill goats, are you gonna do that too? Or they used to do this and that. All of those things are true. They did, but listen to the way the individual brings you the objection to doing Yah's will after you've read what he just said. You've literally read it yourself. You'll see a myriad of places where he says things like forever, for generations, for times to come. He lays it out there to let you know, I'm not letting up off of this, and he doesn't. You'll never see anywhere where Yah is schizophrenic, where he says one thing and then he turns around and says something else. You will, however, see where Yahweh Shah comes and tells you who he is, in that I did not come to, to tear away or do away with this, but I came to fulfill it. But people will take that based on what Paul says and what others may say and turn it around a little. And that's where the bane of the confusion comes in. So I just wanted to stop in and just encourage you to make sure that you just don't give up on this. Study it out, and as you study it, you'll begin to see the truth for yourself. And it'll become rhema to you. It'll be way down deep in your soul where no one could pull it up. Go ahead, Ronnie. Hey, Black Spring with Otto. Good to
Well,
see you, sister. Good to see you.
well, we know that we are that. Well, okay, I'll say this: we know that Yahweh Shah is the unblemished, spotless Lamb that is slain on our behalf, and we know that we are supposed to take up that mantle and not only be like Him, we're supposed to be Him. We are His body. So, in that sense, we are to be a unblemished, spotless lamb walking
Living
around here all day
sacrifice.
long. Yeah. And,
Hallelujah.
and he tells us that we're supposed to be a living sacrifice. We're supposed to die to our wants and our wishes and our will and our way daily, every day, every morning. We're supposed to present ourselves as that living sacrifice. So a lot of us aren't sheep herders or farmers, so we don't have these things to be able to do that. But the the metaphor of it, we can utilize that symbolically and be that in the natural, in the flesh. We can actually be that in the flesh by using those points as far as us being the living sacrifices daily, every single day. And when we do that, we will be able to fulfill these things. The thing is, um, all of these things will be reinstated in the kingdom. And if we learn about them now, we'll know what to do with those things in the kingdom, and we'll be on point in the kingdom. And we won't be confused and feel like a fish out of water in the kingdom. We know exactly what to do with all of the things that are available to us for all of these statutes and ordinances to be maintained. We're not going to need a sin offering. We're no longer going to need a sin offering, but there are daily oblations. There are free will sacrifices. There are peace offerings. That we continue to give in the kingdom. There's incense always burning, and of course that's a metaphor for the prayers, but it's a metaphor for the prayers as well as the practical, literal incense that are burning. So there's always things that are in play in the kingdom, and we're learning these statutes and ordinances now. And even though we don't have them at our disposal currently, we'll know what to do with them in the future in the kingdom by implementing these ideas and learning and immersing ourselves into these ideas right here, right now. So it goes on to tell you that by doing this, it will show your wisdom and understanding in the sight of the peoples. Not these um, pious words and long, lengthy prayers and all this stuff, but if you observe carefully his statutes and ordinances, this is what's going to show the wisdom and understanding. Um, it goes on to say, for what nation is great enough to have a God as near to them as Yahweh is to us whenever we call on him? So we are at an advantage. We have an Elohim that hears us. What nation is great enough to have righteous statutes and ordinances like this entire law that I set before you today? He's saying that we are at an advantage. So if we are at an advantage, wouldn't we want to utilize these things to our advantage? There's no other nation that is, quite like Yah's nation, in the sense that he is readily available unto us if we seek and call him out. Therefore, it goes on to say in verse 9, only be on your guard and diligently watch yourselves so that you do not forget the things your eyes have seen, and so that you do not slip. Oh, I'm sorry. And so they Do not slip from your heart as long as you live. Teach them to your children and your grandchildren. The day I stood before you, I'm sorry, the day you stood before Yah, your Alahayam at Horeb, that's Mount Sinai, Yah said to me, gather the people for me to hear my words so that they may learn to fear me all the days that they live on earth and that they may teach them to their children. So this is the thing that we're supposed to teach to our generations to come. This is the thing. This is the thing. Yes. Who? What? His laws, statutes, and commandments. Now, I said all that to really hone in on the fact that we are supposed to be learning these things now. Verse 5, I have used statutes and ordinances just as Yah, my Alahayam, has commanded me, so that you may follow the land that you are about to enter and possess. So we're supposed to learn these now so we can be on point later in the kingdom. And then it goes on to tell you that you are to diligently guard yourselves so that you do not forget the things. Why? Because other people are going to tell you other things. But he's telling you to be on guard and diligently watch yourselves so you don't slip away from these things. From these things. And I wanted to hone in on that aspect, and I hope that was helpful. I'm going to continue on.
Yes, that's very helpful. Very
Yeah.
helpful.
So the thing about that is, what does that have to do with the sticks? So he's telling you that there is one law for all people. I'll use colloquialism, Jews and Gentiles alike, one law.
Absolutely.
And this is the
Absolutely.
law. And this
Mm.
is the law. So any other thing else is the sidebar, irrelevant sidebar that they have constructed to be made extremely loud and vibrant, and they put it in lights to make it bigger, to, grander, and to stand out, so it can usurp these things. But what do we start on? We were talking about these sticks that we were gathering on the 6th day. And we're supposed, so I want to hone in on the fact that we're supposed to be at rest. So when we're resting, we're not going to be gathering any sticks. What is the sticks? Is it a metaphor for something? I mean, like, or is it work? But when we look at the entirety of scripture, we'll see exactly what it is. Let me go to, I'm going to First Kings. All right. So look, so this is Elijah. This is Elijah going to the widow, and she's in Sidon. Remember, we talked about Tyre and Sidon. Tyre and Sidon.
Yes, yes.
That's
Hey,
that's
Deb.
actually
Deb Woods is in the house. How are you? Good to see you.
all right. Um, so Tyre and Sidon is where is the proverbial place where we all have all been scattered. When we looked at Tyre and Sidon, we see that this is where uh, um, basically the Christian Satan, this is where he resides. This is his patron city. And we actually see in the Greek
That's
that's
right.
Hercules, right? We
Yes,
see
yes, yes. I remember that.
that's
Yes.
Hercules. That's in the Sumerian. That's Nergal. And then but nonetheless, he's going. Who? Elijah. Elijah is going to the lady at Sidon, and she's a widow. And it says that he was commanded to stay there. Behold, I have commanded a widow there to provide for you. So I'm going to start at verse 10. So it says, so Elijah got up and went to Zarephath. When he arrived at the city gate, there was a widow gathering sticks. When we look into the scripture, we're going to see when we're gathering wood, gathering sticks, that is a continuing metaphor. What I'm doing here is connecting the dots. I'm linking these things together. It's kind of like a cheat sheet. But like I said, when it's all said and done, look at these things for yourself to gain the understanding. This is an overview. But listen, this lady is gathering, this woman is gathering sticks when Elijah pulls up on her. And it says, Elijah called to her and said, please bring me a little water in a cup so that I may drink. And as soon as she was going to get it, he called to her and said, please bring me a piece of bread. And she replied, as surely as Yah, your Alahayam lives, I have no bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little oil in a jug. Look, I am gathering a couple of sticks to take home and prepare a meal for myself and my son so that we may eat it and die. Do not be afraid, Elijah said to her. Go and do as I have said, but first make me a small cake of bread from what you have and bring it out to me. Afterward, make some for yourself and your son, for this is what the Alahayam of Yasharal says. The jar of flour will not be exhausted, and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day Yahweh sends rain upon the face of the earth. I just wanted to highlight that there are places in scripture where people are gathering sticks. They're gathering wood right here. She's gathering 2 sticks. And when the prophet pulls up on you, you should be gathering 2 sticks. What is this? This is a metaphor for Yah's people. This is a metaphor for Yah's people. And in relation to what I'm getting at, in Numbers, when we first started speaking in the book of Numbers, it says that the man was put to death for gathering wood on the Sabbath. And we were saying that the Sabbath is a day of rest. It means to cease and desist. We're supposed to stop. So on this day, we're supposed to stop gathering. Not gathering as far as gathering people, but we're supposed to stop doing the work of trying to teach somebody and bring them into the fold, because on the 7th day is the 7th day of rest, and that is a metaphor for the kingdom. It's a metaphor for the kingdom. So what does that mean? When the kingdom comes, there's going to be people that has not made the decision yet, has not drawn that line in the sand to make the decision, are you going to serve Baal or are you going to serve Yah? And the people that haven't made that decision, they're going to be thrown out into outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. So we have to understand the concept. There's a cutoff. There is a cutoff for us to be going out and gathering in the people. And we also see in Revelation where it says, who is ever set apart, let him remain set apart. Who is ever evil, let him remain evil. These concepts are all throughout the scripture to let you know there is a cutoff. And what we don't need to be doing on the 7th day is working. And if you're working, that means you're not resting. And if you're not resting, that means you're not in the kingdom. Because the kingdom, it's all a huge metaphor for being at rest. The kingdom is rest. The kingdom is our rest. So if we're still working, that means we're not adhering to the laws of Yah's house. And this right here is the gathering of the sticks. And she's doing this, so it's apparent that it's not on a Shabbat. But instead, what does he do? He ends up bringing this whole. So look, they break bread together. So listen to the nuances. The prophet goes to the woman who is ready to die. She can't take it anymore. She doesn't have any food left. She doesn't have any oil. And these are all metaphors, for the bread of life, for the set apart spirit being in your life. She's just she's at her wit's end. But mind you, she's still doing the work. She's doing the work until her dying breath. And this is what we need to be doing. Mind you, she's in Sidon. She's not in Jerusalem. She's not in the promised land. She's in the wilderness, still doing the work. And I hope these metaphors are resonating with us, as you know, I'm progressing and bringing this to the forefront.
It
So
is. It is.
so what happens? They She invites him in. She invites the prophet into her home, into her heart, into her home, and they break bread. They commune with each other. They break bread. He gives her the first fruit of the little bit. I'm sorry, pardon me. She gives him the first fruits of the little bit that she has left. We're all required to give our first fruits. The first fruits. First fruits. And this is what she does. And inadvertently, he brings resurrection to the table. Um, it says later in verse 17, later the son of the woman who owned the house became ill, and his sickness grew worse and worse until no breath remained in him. He died. And this, we can go on and on about this, but I'm just being case specific as far as rest and Sabbath is concerned. But there's so many elements here that we're not touching on. But she says, O man of Allahiyam, O man of God, said the woman to Elijah, what have you done to me? Have you come to remind me of my iniquity and cause the death of my son? Are you seeing? Are you seeing? Are you seeing the nuances? She understands that the death of her generations, of her children and her children's children, is because of iniquity. And iniquity, we find out, is what? Transgression of the law. And she understands this concept. Like my son just died. Because we just looked at in Deuteronomy where we're commanded to tell these truths to our children and our children's children for generations to come. And it says, have you come to remind me of my iniquity and cause the death of my son? He said, give me your son. So we took him from her arms, carried him to the upper room, the upper room, the upper
The
room,
upper room.
exactly. Carried it to the upper room where he was staying, and where he was staying, man, there's so many nuances here that
So
are,
many nuances.
yeah, and laid him on his own bed. And he cried out to Yah, Yah my Allahiyam, have you also brought tragedy on this widow who has opened her home to me, who is residing with, who I'm residing with, who I'm sojourning with, by causing her son to die? Then he stretched himself out over the child 3 times and cried to Yah, "Oh Yah, my Allahiyam, please let this boy's life return to him." And verse 22, um, and Yah listened to the voice of Elijah, and the child's life returned to him, and he lived. Then Elijah took the child, brought him down from the upper room into the house, and gave him to his mother. Look, your son is alive. Now I know that you are a man of Allahiyam, and that the word of Yah from your mouth is truth. So, so any prophet, anyone who is prophesying, anyone who is speaking, we take the word prophecy out of context. It just means someone who is declaring a thing, someone who brings a message, someone who is declaring something. So, anybody who is declaring the word of Yah brings life, brings life. And we just said, well, we didn't say it, but we just read where in
Hallelujah.
Deuteronomy where it said that obeying these laws, statutes, and commandments will cause you to live. Trying to bring this home. I'm trying to round it out. But understand that she was gathering 2 sticks. She was gathering 2 sticks.
That is so vital. That, I mean, let me be quiet because I mean, that is actually eye opening. That really is. That really is. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm
No,
just thinking of how vital that really is. She was literally doing the thing, waiting. She was doing the thing and not stopping. It was like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do.
and
This
she's
is what
doing
I'm
the rest.
supposed to do.
She's
And
doing
I'm
the work.
doing it. I'm doing
She's
the
doing
work.
the
I'm going
work.
to keep on doing the work. And that's all I'm going to do is keep doing the work. Because this I know. I know to do this. I know to do this. And I know what's going to happen if I don't do this. Okay. So we have Matthew 15:21 up.
Right.
Anthony Van Zant in the house. How are you?
Okay. So what's amazing is that Elijah went to the lady at in Sidon, right? Zarephath in
Mm-hmm.
Sidon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
again, we see the Syrophoenician woman at the well when Yahweh Shah walks up on her. Says then Jesus, starting in verse 21, says then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon, same spot, same place. Why? Because it's a metaphor. This is the wilderness. This is where we all are. Proverbially, that word, proverbially.
Proverbially, right
Yeah,
now. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's where we all are. We're in the wilderness of Tyre and Sidon.
In the proverbial wilderness.
Exactly. And so it's of no coincidence that once again we're here in the region of Tyre and Sidon, and he pulls up on the Canaanite woman who is, some texts say the Sydo-Phoenician woman or what have you, but Sido meaning Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, "Have mercy on me, son of David. My daughter is severely demon possessed." And then he goes on to say that, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Yasharal. So make no mistake about it. Yahweh Shai only comes for his sheep. He's only coming for the lost sheep of the house of Yasharal. The only way that you can come on board is if you're clinging to him.
Mmm. And what a great place to cling. What a safe spot. What a safe space. Hallelujah.
He is of the house of Jacob. He's of the
Mm.
kingly, he's of the royal house of the house of Jacob. He's from the line of Judah, which is the royal house of the line of Jacob. You have to cling to the house of Jacob. And the house of Jacob has certain rules and regulations that they abide by. I'm saying that repetitiously on purpose. You got to drive that home. But mind you, uh, I mean, we've read this story 1,000 times, so I don't want to hone in on it. But what I'm telling you is that the relationship like Tyre and Sidon, you see that a lot. It's just not touched upon so much from the pulpit, more so than Sodom and Gomorrah is constantly. But Tyre and Sidon is a major player in the scheme of things. That's because that is the mindset. That's the area. That's the brain. That's our thought processes. That's the king of the north. If you actually look on a geographically on a map, Tyre and Sidon is right above that little plot of land that they call Israel. It's the king of the north's mentality. It's a mindset. I mean, it's a real place too, but we have to get out of that mindset. And then, even the woman at the well, it's like you don't even know who you're worshiping. And then he tells you, you worship on one mountain, we worship on another mountain. One day we're going to be all worshiping in spirit and in truth. That goes back to Baal Peor, the Lord of the mountain. We're worshiping the wrong Lord and don't even realize it. When we focus on their words versus Yah's word, because Yah has been very specific, and like you said, he has not swayed. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. He doesn't have multiple personalities to where he's saying things and he's all across the board. He has been quite consistent. So mind you, there's two sticks, right? Am I sharing Ezekiel 37?
You have to scroll it down. It looked like you were sharing Matthew, but I mean, you have to scroll. Well, it's gone now. It's totally gone now. Are you still here?
Yes,
Can you
I'm
hear
sorry.
me?
I'm pulling up.
Okay, okay, okay. All
Okay,
right, there you go.
so let's talk about these dry bones. Let's talk about these dry bones. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm skimming through certain places, but I'm gonna bring it all together in the end. Um,
Okay, that's cool.
and I mean, but we can see what that all together in the end is already. But I'll round it out. But look though, it says in Ezekiel 37. the hand of Yah was upon me, and he brought me out by his spirit and set me down in the middle of the valley, and it was full of bones. And he led me all around among them, and I saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley, and indeed they were very dry. Son of man, can these bones come to life? And I replied, only you know. And he said to me, prophesy concerning these bones and tell them, dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. This is what the your Elohim Yahweh says to these bones. I will cause breath to enter you, and you will come to life. I will attach tendons to you and make flesh grow upon you and cover you with skin. I will put breath within you so that you will come to life. Then you will know that I am Yahweh. So this is, a an equivalent of what Elijah basically did.
Mm-hmm.
But this is on
Exactly.
a larger scale. Like he did that to the young boy, and
Mm-hmm.
resurrected the young boy. Um, and that's a metaphor as well. But this is on a large scale. This is the entire. This is bones upon bones
Exactly.
upon.
Exactly.
This is a metaphor for the entire nation.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "So I prophesied as I had been commanded." So also you have to prophesy, and what do we say? Prophesy means that means to speak. Basically, it means to profess something. Um, you need to profess what you have been commanded, and not commanded by the traditions of man, but commanded by what Yah has commanded us. And He has commanded us what? Commandments, laws, statutes, commandments, ordinances, things like that. So that's what we need to be prophesying. It says, so I prophesied as what I had been commanded. And as I prophesied, there was suddenly a noise, a rattling, and the bones came together, bone to bone. And I looked on, tendons appeared on them, flesh grew, and skin covered them, and there was no breath in them. So you can be a body well put together and still have no breath in you. You're still not alive. And you're a well put together body. It's and that breath is an allusion to the set apart spirit. Then he said to me, prophesy to the breath, prophesy, son of man, and tell the breath that this is what Elohim, what your Elohim says. Come
Mm-hmm.
from the four winds, O breath, and breathe into these slain so that
Mm-hmm.
they may live. Mind you, they were slain. That's interesting. They're
Mm-hmm.
slain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I prophesied as he had commanded me, and the breath entered them, and they came to life and stood on their feet, a vast army. All
Because they
right.
were on the battlefield originally, right?
Well, they were in the middle of the valley, and we know that that valley is speaking on the valley of Jehoshaphat, which
Mm-hmm.
is
The Valley of Decision.
the Valley of Decision, which is
Mm-hmm.
Kidron Valley, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But inadvertently, we see in Revelation that that is indeed a battlefield. That is a battlefield. So it says that they stood to their feet and they were a vast army. Then he said to me in verse 11, "Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Yasharal." Look,
The whole house.
look, they are saying our bones are dried up and our hope is perished. We are cut off. What do you get cut off for? Not observing the
Not
Sabbath.
observing the Sabbath. Mm-hmm.
Among all of his
His
commandments,
laws and statutes and
statutes, and
commandments.
commandments.
Hey, Amy Duran. Hey, Amy.
But it
Mm-hmm.
said if you don't observe his Sabbaths, you will be cut off. Whether you are a native born or a foreigner sojourning with the native borns, you will be cut off. One rule for one house. And all these bones are the whole house of Yasharal, and they're crying out, we've perished, we're cut off. But it also shows you that Yah is going to put life, is going to, bring us back, put life in us, put breath back into us. Therefore, prophesy, verse 12, and tell them that this is what Allaham Yahweh says. O my people, I will open your graves and bring you up from them, and I will bring you back to the land of Yasharal. Right now we're in the grave. We're in the wilderness. Right now we're in the valley of decision. The ones who make the right decision, he will bring back to the land of Yasharal. Then you, my people, will know that I am Yahweh when I open your graves and bring you up from them. I will put my spirit in you. He's going to put his spirit in us. And that's the metaphor for the breath. Like, okay, yeah, he brought us out of the graves and now we're fully pieced together, but we still don't have the spirit. But he's telling you that not only is he going to bring you back to life or what have you, but he's also going to put his spirit back in you and you will live. And how do we live? We live by the law, statutes, and commandments. And I will settle you in your own land. Remember in Deuteronomy 4, it said that we are learning these
Mm-hmm.
things, these laws and statutes right here, right now, so we
Yes.
can be settled in our own
Mm-hmm.
land.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So it says, then you will know that I, Yah, have spoken. Not preacher man, not rabbi such and such, but Yah has spoken,
Not Reverend Pork Chop,
nor rabbi such and such,
nor Rabbi such and such.
but Yah
But
has
yeah,
spoken.
hallelujah.
And I will do it, declares Yah. There's many nuances here, but I'm just driving something home in particular. But yeah, there's like studies upon studies all up in Ezekiel 37. Give me a moment. Forgive me. Okay.
Mm-mm, it's okay.
So, verse 15. Again, the word of Yah came to me saying, and you, son of man, take a single stick and write on it, belonging to Judah, to the Israelites associated with him, and to the Israelites associated with him. And then take another stick and write on it, belonging to Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and to all the house of Yasharal associated with him. Then join them together into one stick, so that they become one in your hand. So here we are talking about sticks at resurrection. There's two sticks. We just saw the woman was gathering two sticks. We just saw that the man was gathering sticks on Shabbat, but what happened to him? He got cut off for gathering two sticks on Shabbat, because Shabbat is the day of rest. You have to cease the work. You have to cease and desist the work and chill out. Otherwise, you are going to be put out in outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. And it's not so much that you're being put out in the outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. It's that you have chosen to be out in outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth on the seventh day. Because this is when the door shuts and you're on the wrong side of that door. Why? Because you're still trying to teach somebody and bring somebody in. That portion is over. The work is done. Whoever is in is in. Whoever is out is out. And if you're still focused on the people that are out, you inadvertently are going to shut yourself out. You have to be focused on the people that are in. He said, who's my brother? Who's my sister? Who's my mother? Those who are about the will of Yah, those who do the work of Yah, those who are about Yah's business. That's it. Anybody else, they blood related, but it doesn't matter. You're supposed to sojourn. You're supposed to cleave to the house of Jacob. And I trust this is making sense. But listen, so Ezekiel 37 is explaining to you what these sticks are. There's two sticks. He's going to join them together in the last day. A lot of people tell you that these two sticks is the Jews and the Gentiles, but they're not going off of scripture. These two sticks are the southern kingdom of Judah and the northern kingdom of
The Northern
Yasharal.
Kingdom. Mm-hmm. Yep.
These two sticks are his house that was divided, and he's bringing them together. But it says anyone associated with them. So this is the thing. Any Gentile who associates themselves with these houses, inadvertently are Yasharal, because you have died to your old ways and you have molded yourselves to the customs of Yah's household. So you look like Yasharal. It's like he dyes you, he brands you, and you become Yasharal.
Hallelujah. That's
But
good news.
absolutely good news. Absolutely good news. See, I'm gonna go on a tangent, side note tangent, but the Gentiles have it made actually. It's
No, really, they
you
do.
they really do. They really do. Because the Gentiles actually rule the world.
Yeah.
Okay, and what I mean by that is I'm speaking on the house of Japheth. The house of Japheth
Oh, I totally know.
right. The house of Japheth runs the show.
You know what I think about the house of Japheth.
But they run the show.
Yes,
They
they
run the
do.
show. Gog, Javan, uh, 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 Mishesh, like they run the show. This is from Genesis 10. These are the this is the what the table of nations they call it. But they run the show. This is we're living under a European power structure right now,
Completely.
and
Completely.
and the Gentile, and that's a Gentile nation. That is actually Japheth. That is the Isle nations of Japheth, and they run. They are what the proverbial king, as it were, right now. And they
That's
also
right.
get to cleave to Yasharal and escape judgment
Hmm.
in the kingdom.
That is so awesome though. It reminds me of the father and the son, the oh, right now I'm just what's the name? You know who I'm trying to think of. You know who I'm thinking of. It's the father and the brother, and the other brother got mad.
Oh,
It's like
the prodigal son.
the prodigal son, and how he really did have the best of both. The one that left and ran out, he really did, if you really look at it, because the one that stayed back was a little ticked. Well, isn't it amazing to see that all they have to do is cleave and do it righteously, and that I hate to say it like this, they came up twice. They
Yeah.
came up two times.
But see, the flip side is that Yasharal, like his Yah's people, are afflicted right now.
That's true.
They're afflicted right now, and then they gain access to rest in the kingdom on the back end.
Absolutely.
Whereas Japheth is running the show right now, and he still can get access to the kingdom. But see,
Yep.
that's why he is the rich young ruler in a certain regard, in a certain aspect of looking at it. He is the rich young ruler, and that's why Yahweh Shai is saying, "Look, you have to abandon that to enter into the kingdom." But it's
That's
hard to do
right.
because you run the show right now,
That's right.
and you
That's
can't
right.
be, and it's you can't fathom being second. You're second to no one. You can't fathom being second. But the thing is, though, is when you look at the promises and the scriptures, it tells you that everybody's equal once you come into the house. Like, even though you are a sojourner with me, you still have the inheritance that I have. You're a co-inheritor
That's
with
right.
me.
That's
Now,
right.
now you're under the umbrella of my home and my household, and through that is your saving grace. In the sense of Yahweh Shah being the ultimate saving grace, and you've entered into the house of Judah, the royal house. You've entered. We were all able to enter through the royal house of Judah. Um, but nonetheless, you still get all the perks. You get an equal plot of land, all of these things. The thing is, when we really look at slavery and things like that, the power structure of slavery really dominated and dehumanized a certain people group. And so that mindset is if that were to be flipped, that mindset is scared out of its mind that that's what's going to happen to them. But the only reason they're so that mindset is so scared that that's going to happen to them is because that's what they have going on and that's what they've done. But we're not commanded to do these things. We're commanded to take you in and harbor you and
And love
keep,
you, treat you
yeah,
kind,
and
and
keep
do
you under the
kindness
same
to you.
covering.
Absolutely.
So they get both sides of this. They get a one. They they're really an awesome people as far as these Gentiles are concerned, because they run the show now and they get a free pass on the back end. Whereas we are afflicted beyond measure,
Mm-hmm.
and
Hallelujah.
then we get a pass on the back end. And I know
Hallelujah.
I went on a whole tangent or what have you, but
No, I think it was appropriate because there's a lot of unasked questions. There's a lot of questions that don't always get asked, and people don't understand how to flow it and how to. But what I think is that everybody is getting it now because I think people are really open to understanding. And the way you broke it down just now, it just really does help people see. Because I'm going to be very honest right here, right now, and tell you that there have been a lot of people who have taught this in such a hateful way. And that is what I believe that Yah wants to break all that up because he does have a pathway. And there are so many people who teach it and they're like, you don't have anything. You get away from here because you're this and you're that. And who are we to treat people like that? When you have this truth that's sitting right here to break it all down for you. And I think, shame on those who would read these passages and just, go over them to usurp some type of, or exact some type of revenge against a certain people group. I think that it's terrible when it just goes right back to what was done to another people group, telling them that this is what it says and it doesn't say that. When you leave people no hope, they just give up. And some people are not built the way that others are. So I'm glad that you're breaking this down because it does show people that there is a way that was made. He did make a way. When he said to the Hebrew first and then to the Gentile, or to the Jew first to the Gentile, to our remembrance of what we may remember, he really meant that. But how many times have you actually been taught the real way to be grafted in? We were taught one way, but we weren't taught this way, the way he wrote it. So I think it's refreshing. No need to apologize at all. Repent now, accept Jesus to go vertical. Hi, guys. How are you? We're glad that you're here. Hello, hello. You're from Alberta, Canada, and we say welcome. Go ahead, Ronnie.
yeah. So going back to what we were speaking on specifically, uh, there's a lot of people that say these two sticks are the Gentiles versus the quote unquote Jews or what have you. But this is not what the scriptures state. It says that one is the house of Judah and the other is the house of Yasharal. And that's the northern and the southern kingdoms that were split in two after the reign of Solomon. And that is one people group that is Yasharal entirely. That's the 12 tribes. That's the 12 tribes as a whole. And it tells you that where is it back here? That these bones are the whole house of Yasharal. And then it goes on to tell you that Son of Man, take a single stick. So take one stick and write on it, belonging to Judah, Yehuda, Yahwadah, and to Yasharal associated with him. All of Yasharal that is associated with him. And then take another stick and write on it, belonging to Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and to all the house of Yasharal associated with him. Then join them together into one stick so that they become one in your hand. So this is the kingdom, actually, because a house divided cannot stand. Verse 18, when your people ask you, won't you explain to us what you mean by these? You are to tell them that this is what Yah says. I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Yasharal associated with him, and I will put them together with the stick of Judah. And I will make them into a single stick and they will become one in my hand. So these are the gatherings of the sticks. So we're to go out into the nations and teach and preach and proclaim the kingdom. And Yah's people hear his voice and no other. Yah's sheep hear his people. I'm sorry. Yah's sheep hear his voice and no other
His
voice do
voice.
they hear.
Mm-hmm.
And so when his people hear the message of the kingdom, they're going to snap out of it and they're going to come back, and then we're not going to be divided into two sticks any longer, and we're going to be joined together as one in his hand. When the sticks on which you write are in your hand and in full view of the people, so this is going to happen in plain sight for everybody to know that Yah is Yah. You are to tell them that this is what Yah says. I will take Yasharal out of the nations to which they have gone, and I will gather them from all around and bring them into their own land. So do we understand what's going on?
Hallelujah.
So there comes a time when there is a day of rest. And that day of on that day of rest, which is the day, that great day, that latter day, the end day, the last day, whatever you want to call it, he is going to take us and pull us out of all of these nations that we're scattered into, and he's going to bring us back home. These are the two sticks. And if you're still doing the work, then you're not gonna you're going to miss the flight. You're going to miss the bus. You're going to miss the train. You're not going to be on board because you're out there still doing the work. This is the day of rest. This is why are you still on the clock? Get off the clock and get on the train.
To go home, go to the house.
Right. And we're going home. We're going home on that day. So if you miss the train, if you miss the plane, then inadvertently you're going to be stuck in outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. This is what it means when it says that you will be put to death and you will be cut off for still, gathering sticks on the Sabbath. So right now, we're not gathering sticks. We're not trying to bring people into the fold right now. What we're doing is having an assembly amongst equally minded people, and we're conversing and we're speaking to gain further wisdom and understanding and knowledge on who Yah is and what he wants us to do and how he instructs us to do it, so we can live a righteous lifestyle, so we can make that train, make that appointment, so we don't miss the bus. And then what does he say? He says in verse 22, I will make them one nation in the land on the mountains of Yasharal, and one king will rule over all of them. Then they will no longer be two nations, and I will never again, nor will never again be divided into two kingdoms. So check it. What does it say? It says they will no longer defile themselves with idols or detestable images, or with any of their transgressions. I will save them from all of their apostasies by which they sinned, and I will cleanse them. So this happens in the last day. This is when it's fully done, fully complete, fully finished, when the work ceases and desists. It says, then they will be my people, and I will be their Elohim. My servant David will be king over them, and there will be one shepherd for all of them. They will follow my ordinances and keep and observe my statutes. So we're talking about the last day, and we're still following his ordinances and keeping and observing his statutes. So again, I implore you to double check what I'm saying. You'll see that I'm not reaching. He has consistently told us that these things are to be perpetuated throughout the generations. Why? Because these are the things that are going to be implemented in the kingdom. And we haven't seen on a grand scale bones being brought together and tendons being put on the bones and life being brought back into his people collectively, and all the nations that we're all scattered into, he has snatched us up out of and brought into our own land. That has not happened yet. And if you think that happened in 1949, you have to look again, because there's only one type of people over there. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Um, they will live in the land that I gave my servant Jacob, where your fathers lived. And right now we're still scattered. So I trust that this is making sense. Please please let me know. Like, am I confusing you further or what have you? You know,
No, not at all. No, not at all. I think you're right on point. And it's sort of difficult because you can't see the response and you can't feel it, but everybody has our, got it moments, and not at all is it's this is hitting. It's very good. It's very good, and we appreciate you. Amy says hallelujah. So yeah, it's resonating. It truly is. It's life changing if you really let it. It's life changing if you let it. It really is. So go ahead, take your time. We're here.
yeah. It says in 25, it says, I will live in the land. They will live in the land that I gave my servant Jacob, where their fathers live. They will live there forever with their children and grandchildren. They will live there forever. So everybody thinks that we die and go to heaven. The kingdom is coming here on earth. When we die, uh, the kingdom, we're not going to be, in the clouds somewhere playing harps, things like that. We're going to live
Yeah,
in
little
the
fat
land.
baby cherubs. None of those. Hey,
It's,
Salty, how you doing? No
it
little
says
fat baby cherubs.
it says the meek will inherit the earth.
Okay.
The meek will inherit the earth. The meek will inherit the earth. He's telling you right here that we will live forever with our children and our grandchildren in the land that was promised to our fathers. And anybody who comes along for the ride and is about, the father's business. It says, my servant David will be their prince forever. And I will make a covenant of peace with them. So this hasn't happened yet because there's no covenant of peace in that geographical, spot. There's no covenant of peace. And okay, yeah,
And we
there
know
might be.
that's true because it says, there's going to be peace, peace, but there'll be no peace. You'll hear that constantly. Peace, peace, but there's not going to be any peace.
Well, I'll say that there's been peace
Safety,
treaties.
peace and safety. Well, yeah, but we
Yeah,
know to what extent.
there's been covenants of peace, if you want, if you want to, throw that out there, but to no avail. I mean, like, there's bombs constantly over there. Like this, this this has not happened yet. It will be an everlasting covenant. An everlasting covenant of what? Of peace, of shalom, of shalom, shalom. It'll be an everlasting covenant, not, periodically bombs going off, but
Mm-hmm.
everlasting covenant of peace. And I will establish them and multiply them, and I will set my sanctuary among them forever. Um, what sanctuary? There's no sanctuary over there.
At all.
There's a golden domed mosque. I'll say that again. There's a golden dome mosque over there.
Mm-hmm.
But when this happens, he's going to set his sanctuary among them forever. My dwelling place will be with him, not a golden domed mosque. I will be their Elohim, and they will be my people. So he's telling you that you're going to be his people. You think that you're going to bring Western traditions along for the ride? He's going to cut that off. He's going to cut all of that short at the gate. Then the nations will know that I, Yahweh, sanctify Yasharal when my sanctuary is among them forever. So this is a key tenet and proponent as far as this end time and this particular thing being fulfilled, as far as his people coming back into the land, is that his sanctuary is going to be among them forever. And if you look in Revelation, it tells you his sanctuary comes out. It's the bride. It's called New Jerusalem, which is called the bride, and it comes out of heaven. It like descends from heaven. And when you read it for yourself, it's quite fascinating.
Now, Ronnie, I have a question. While you're breaking all of this down, Are you able to take questions afterwards? Because we're at an hour 24 minutes right now. Or do you want to set up another time for questions and answers? I know your work schedule and your family schedule. I know you've got a lot of commitments, and you are awesome to be here with us on, Sabbath. So
Uh, well, I'm kind of. I think we've made the points.
I know you made the
as
points.
as far
Yeah.
as the two sticks and who they are, these are the two nations of Yasharal and Judah or Yehuda, and he's going to bind them up. And as far as a day of rest is concerned, we can, like, there's a cutoff. There's a cutoff. Um, so when you continue on with Ezekiel 38, it definitely clarifies everything that I was saying as far as Magog, Gog and Mashak and Tubal and Yavan or Yawan. These people are descendants from Japheth.
Can I share something
So,
with you? Because I know we just got something in our email. Hello,
well, what I
Sandy
what I was
Aaron.
gonna say is that we can tie some things in, but I think I got the meat and potatoes out there as far as gathering of sticks and being cut off and dying for that. Like, we can't be doing that, and it really is a cease and desist. And in saying that, we can touch on a couple of things, but I'm open for comments or
Yeah,
concerns or
because we
questions.
just had one of our brothers send us something, and I sort of wanted you to go over this so that you could break it down. Because when I first glanced at it, I was like, "Oh, okay," but I wanted you to take a look at it. And are you able to see the screen? And may I switch it out now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, there you go. All right, so that is what came in through the email for the Lockhart perspective. And I get these little tings in my ear while we're alive. It lets me know that somebody sent us something. And I just opened it to this. And can you see the whole thing? Let me make it a little bigger. Can you see that? You may not be able to see the very bottom portion up under where it says Dan. Can you see that? As I wanted you to share,
I
because
don't see after Dan, but I see how Manasseh
there
is.
you go. There
Yeah,
it is,
Naphtali is
Neftali.
the Norwegians.
Yeah.
We have the
Okay. I'm
Celtics
gonna I'm
there.
gonna take your answer off screen.
Okay. I don't really know what the question is. Is this
I can read it in short, but I won't read it in total because it would give the person's name. And so let me go into another side and read it. But he's watching us right now, and he just says, "Hey, I've been looking at the subject of tonight's show, and Ronnie puts it so well, and he sent us this attachment. So I wanted you to maybe touch the attachment as far as the biblical connotation and any ties to biblical truths, basically, where what may be or not. I guess am I trying to say, am I saying that right? I've been out for what, 2 weeks now, so I don't know. Am I saying that right? You know what I'm trying to say. I would like for you to touch on each one of these because these are supposed to be the 12 tribes. Can you tell us about the validity of these tribes as it's listed here?
well, I mean, it's kind of fascinating when you look at this right here. As far as this list is concerned that you have on the screen, it says Ephraim is Britain, Manasseh is the USA, Reuben is France. You have Wales. You have the Swiss. You have Finland. You have the Netherlands. All of these are Germanic, Celt, and European cultures and civilizations and offspring, if you
But
will. Uh,
they're all Japheth, with the exception of they're all Japheth.
yeah, when you look at the genealogy coming from Genesis 10, the
Hold on, I'll be right back. Go ahead.
all right, when you look at it's called well, what they term the table of nations. Uh, all of these people groups that are equated to the 12 tribes come from Japheth. Like, let me say that again. All of these people groups, with the exception of the USA, because the USA is kind of like a melting pot. So, like, what are you really saying when you say USA? Because because you have all kinds of people here currently. But if you're talking about the forefathers of the United States of America, then once again, you're of European descent as well. But when you look at the narrative displayed in Genesis 10, all of these people are progeny of Japheth, and Japheth is where we get, the Caucasian persuasion, and through the Caucasian persuasion, we get the European persuasion, by way of Germanic and Celt, and that's a whole other dive, a deep dive into the demographics and things like that, and who these people are. But to be completely transparent, these are all Japhethites. These are all Japhethites, and Japheth and Yah's people come from Shem. Yah's people come from Shem and not Japheth. So I don't see how they could equate to the 12 tribes of a lineage from Shem. I just don't see that. I don't see how that plays out. But definitely, if you can corroborate these things and qualify these things historically, then yeah, let's have a deep dive and try to figure it out. But as far as contextually, biblically, these are Japhethites. So yeah, I think that answers it. I think that answers it. And without diving into it, because it's kind of an off branch of as far as what we're speaking on, but I'm qualifying what I'm saying by referencing Genesis 10, and also reference where I'm at right now. Very interestingly enough, what I'm screen sharing is Ezekiel 38. And you see right at the beginning of Ezekiel 38, it speaks on Gog, Meshach, and Tubal. And these being, and who did he bring to the table with? In verse 5, he brought Persia and Cush and Foot. That's Libya, and that's Ethiopia, and then that's Iran, if you will. That's in verse 5. Persia is Iran, Cush would be Ethiopia, and Foot would be Libya. And he brings those people that he has gathered under an alliance. He brings those to the table. And who is he that he's bringing to the table? Gog. Gog, it tells you at the end of verse 3, it says Gog is the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. And these people are the sons of Japheth. And when you look at and how do you know that? Genesis 10. Genesis 10 lets you know. It tells you, it says the descendants or the generations of Japheth. Matter of fact, you want to pull that up? Genesis 10 from the hub. It lets you know right away. It lets you know right away who the sons of Japheth are, and that's these guys. And these guys go to war with Yah's people. And when you dissect who came from these people, you'll see that these are the Germanic peoples. As far as Persia is concerned, that's modern day Iran. But when you look at that, that is a branch from whom stemmed the French, or I should say the Franks. Forgive me. I want to be clear. The Franks, and the Franks ended up being called what we consider the French today. So they're Iranian, where we get Aryan, where we get the concept of Aryan from. These are Aryans. These are Aryan people groups. But it tells you right there in verse 2, the sons of Japheth are Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yavan, Tubal, Meshach, Tyrus. The sons of Gomer is Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, but mind you, Gog, Gomer, Madai, Yavan, Tubal, Meshach, these are the sons of Japheth themselves. And when you do the lineage, when you look at the lineage historically, where where did certain people groups come from? They all stemmed from some of these, because these are the people that made it off, that came off of the boat after the deluge, after the flood. The sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Japheth had Gomer, Magog, Tubal, and Meshach. And these are the same people that are highlighted in Ezekiel 38 right now. When you do the math and do the historical account, you'll see that the Europeans or the Germanics, all the people that are of Germanic descent stemmed from Japheth.
Well, I have a question here in the and I don't I'm sorry. I don't read Hebrew. I know Ronnie does. I don't. So I apologize. But I know that there's somebody here that says, so you think zero Caucasians are the children of Israel. I'm going to say something. We don't think anything. We just go by the scripture,
Yeah,
and that's it. We don't use conjecture. Because I think that's happened to us so long, most of all of our lives, as it relates to our walk in quote unquote churchdom. And I think that's what's happened. You know what I mean? We all have had people tell us, instead of breaking it down where we can actually study it ourselves, or they just give you a little bit and you get excited off of that, and then you run with that little bit of information. And oftentimes you fail to go back and just dig a little deeper. So, no, we're not saying who is and who isn't, but we do know who we are. And and so I think I know who I am. And so I think the most important part to get is that this is from Genesis 10, and that all you'd have to do is to trace back on your own and see exactly who's who and what's what. I think that's what we're saying. As a matter of fact, I know that's what we're saying.
yeah.
Okay, Hadassah. Okay, Hadassah. I love your name. I had a very good friend named Hadassah who did hair with me, but she was from California as well. But yeah, very nice name. Go ahead, Ronnie. Thank you for being here, by the way, Hadassah.
Yeah, we have to take words. We tend to take them for face value, but we don't understand. Well, maybe I'm not going to say we don't understand, but we don't take into consideration, or we consider it lightly, where these words actually come from. Uh, but when in the modern train of thought, when we say Caucasian, just to speak plainly, we think white people.
Absolutely. That's why I didn't really dig into that one too well. I
But
didn't dig into
Caucasian
it
Caucasian doesn't mean white people.
at all.
Caucasian means you're of Caucasian. You're
Of the
Caucasus. Yeah,
Caucasia or
yeah,
Caucasoid,
yeah.
Caucasian mountains, the mountains of so it doesn't necessarily mean you. And here's the deep part about it. Sandy just said, is Yah colorblind? Yeah, God is colorblind, and to just keep your quote exactly the way
Well,
you have it.
let me
However,
explain what I'm saying. Please, please, because this is vital. This is not a black and white or red or purple or or yellow or brown issue. Now I'm not even gonna say purple because no one's purple, but this is not a red, yellow, white, black, uh, color issue at all. So when you hear Caucasian, you have to consider why you think Caucasian is white. Caucasian isn't white. Caucasian is not white, and I'm not saying that, and I don't think that zero Caucasians are of the children of Yasharal in the same way that you might hear that statement being stated. I'm saying that the Caucasus people are from Japheth. Let me say that again. The Caucasians are from Japheth. And I hope that makes sense, because that's all that's actually point and blank. Okay. I'm sorry.
okay, we appreciate you for being here, Hadassah. Thank you so much. Um, and so I appreciate the way you've broken that down. I think it's great. And I think a lot of times people sort of, run with not necessarily this young lady, but just in general. And I think that that's because there's been so much divisiveness here in the nation as it relates to color, because I think it's something that's very easy to divide people by. Okay. Hadassah, are you involved in any organizations by chance? Just let me know. Let me know that. So yeah, so I just think that it's oftentimes you just get that, and I think it's because of the divisiveness that's been laid here in the United States. But here on this channel, our goal is to get to the truth, and the truth only comes from Yah's word. Period. And we don't accept it from any place else. I mean, there are other things that are extensions of the word, that we do glean information from. Of course, like we use all the time. We talk about the book of Enoch and all that good stuff. And so, one of the question that that I think Sandy had, I know it was Sandy, and that was dealing with the Noahide laws. She said, one day, can you do a deep dive dealing with the Noahide laws, if you
Yeah, that'd
could?
be
Because I
cool.
think a
That'd be
lot of
cool.
people have that as a question too. I've seen that question a couple of times. Yeah, I've seen that a
I
couple
want
of
to put a
times.
disclaimer on the Noahide laws. Um, it's not. It might not be what you think it is, as far as the hype and all the speculation shrouding the Noahide laws. They're actually quite simple. But yeah, we'll do a deep dive, and I think that's kind of cool.
Oh, I think that'd be great. I think it'd be great. Listen, we're already an hour and 41 minutes into this lesson, into this, session of assembly and getting together and all that good stuff. I want to thank all of you guys who've reached out to me on a personal level and who've either texted me or emailed me or, tried to figure out how I'm doing. Well, I'm doing well. I'm doing better than I was doing over the past 2 weeks. I have not been well, but even though I physically was not physically well, I was well, if that makes sense. Even when I physically looked like I wasn't well, I'm well. And so I'm well. So I want to say thank you to everyone who thought of me and everyone who reached out to me and everybody who checked on me. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Shows that your gifts are working, especially when it wasn't so close to today. It was days ago. It was closer to the last upload, so that should show that your gift is definitely working. So at an hour and 41 minutes, I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Ronnie, is there anything else that you had to add or say before we go?
No, well, I mean, you think I need to tie any ends together, or
I mean, I think that if you tie it any better, it's gonna just be it's gonna be ready for a weave. It's gonna be cornrows that are literally stitched together, bound so seamlessly, and they'll be ready
yeah,
for a wiggle it. You've
because
done a great job. I
yeah,
don't
these
see
these
anything
com-
else left.
these conversations are actually rabbit holes, and we can continue on and on and on. And I think we should, episode after episode or what have you, continue the narrative in the conversation. But as far as resting on the Sabbath is concerned, um, one of the things that it entails is to, uh, contrary to the modern Christian mindset, like, Sunday is their Sabbath, right? And so they go out and they I forgot what it's called. When you go out and try to bring people into church and
When you go out
witness,
and
yeah, yeah,
witness,
yeah, yeah. But see, that's the seventh day. We're not supposed to be doing that. This is a day that we're supposed to reverence Yah, um, uh, midrash, if you like speak the word, communicate amongst each other, uh, assemble and be on one accord with each other. Like, the work is this is a microcosm, this is a micro version of resting. We're supposed to chill out and
now, see,
enjoy
I
the
didn't
fruits of the
know
past
that.
6 days.
Yeah, I didn't know. I have lots of friends that are Seventh Day, and I didn't know that they go out and witness on those days. I know that one of my friends that I grew up with, she was Jehovah's Witness, and she, not necessarily Seventh Day, but she, for Jehovah's Witness, they would come knock on doors. They would go knock on doors on Sundays.
And we don't do that.
But
You have six
she,
days.
yeah, and so my other friend who was Seventh Day Adventist, they used to call them 7 Day Commandment Keepers. They would not go anywhere but their congregation. So I didn't know that they did that too. So, well, thank you, Deb Woods, and thank you, Poppy Love. I'm doing better. Yeah, it's real out here in the streets. I'll just tell you that it's not bronchial related, but yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. That's all I'll say. But I am going to have a private chat for all the members, so that you guys are well aware of everything. So yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and it's good to see you, Deb. It's good to see you, Poppy Love and Sandy and everybody. But yeah, and I think it's important that we understand that our life is really what we live in front of others. And that's what is the delineative line to what do I do next, or to what should I do, or should I become part of this or that. And it's just really reaching back to truth. It's not even becoming a part of a group, or an organization, or a congregation, as it were, or like the Greater Baptist such and such and blah blah blah. It's nothing like that. It's just getting into the truth and holding on to the truth. And the sweet part about it is, no matter who you are, if you hold on to truth and you're not tripping on the outside stuff, you're going to do what you need to do to take care of you. And Yah is going to keep his word, because that's who he is. So that's the sweet part about it. When it comes down to ethnicity, like I said earlier, that's just something that, the world uses to divide. And it's worked thus far. But in a minute, we're all going to be on one side, because they're going to take the term race and they're going to show you exactly why they've conditioned you to that word over the past several years. And it's been because they're going to tell you what the other race is. And you just hold on to your hat, hold on real tight, and you're going to see exactly what that race is. You're going to find out. There is only one race, and that's the human race, period. But there are different ethnicities. They don't deal with ethnicities. What they deal with is the race. And the race that you're about to be introduced to, you will have to respect it. You mark my words. I'll go into that a little bit deeper, but I will just let you know that. So, we've all talked about ethnicities before. I let you guys know, I'll show you pictures of my grandfather, my great granddad, big old tall, Irish man. So, and I got pictures of the cat. So it doesn't make a difference. The fact is that no matter who you are, Yah has made a way of escape. He has made a way in for you. That's who he is. He is the Savior. He is all. He is salvation in itself. That is who he is. Yeah. Several names, several attributes. One of the attributes that I'm honing in on right now is the attribute of salvation, because that's who he is. Yep. The righteous run into him and they're saved. The name of Yahweh. The name of Yahweh is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and they are yet saved. Yeah, that's the word. That's the word. All right, you guys. Ronnie, I'm going to go ahead and close out if you're ready.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. We appreciate all of you for being here. And I'm glad that everybody got a hold of the date, because it was sort of a trip, wasn't it, Ronnie? It was sort of unique for us to go from Tuesday, then dun dun dun. But because you're teaching us how to count how to look for the new moon according to the word, and how to do all that great, awesome stuff, it just works. It really just works. So how do you feel?
Oh, it's quite vital. It's important.
Right? Yeah. It really is. So I want to tell each and every one of you that I love all of you guys. You know how I am. I do. I don't care who you are. I mean, unless you treat me bad, you could do anything you want, really. I got a whole lot of love to give. So I want to tell each and every one of you that I love all of you guys. I'm so glad that you are a part of the TLP family. And I thank each and every one of you again. For those of you who've reached out to me to check on me, thank you. And for those of you who have just come in today that we've never seen before, I want to thank you for joining. And I hope that this is not your last time. I want you guys to remember what we always say here on this channel, and that is that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every single word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High Yah. You guys continue to take care of yourselves, and please remember, if you take care of you, then you can take care of everybody else. All right, you guys take care of yourselves. And I tell you what, when we see each other again, we're going to have another good time. Okay? All right, you guys take care of one another.
Black God perspective.